can idea. It was originally a black can. It was glossy. And then the co-packer messaged me and asked me if I would like to do a matte black can or a glossy black can. And I just did matte without knowing what it would look like. And then they produced 9,000 of them, and it looked amazing. So that's how the matte black design came to be. My cousin's a graphic designer. He kind of helped me lay everything else out, like as far as the circles on the side of the can that like represent the nutrition facts and things like that. So he helped me kind of match the market standard of what cans should look like. The nutrition facts I wrote myself on my computer in Adobe Illustrator and dragged that into our file, and then we printed 9,000 of them. So the can production was very hands-on for me too. I mean, I remember writing in the actual numbers of like 40 calories, 100% of vitamin B5, and 100% of vitamin B12 in Adobe Illustrator before we printed the cans out. So that's usually a funny story. And then 16 ounces I wanted to do because everyone else is 12 ounces. And I wanted a drink that represented strength and power. And if it's a 16-ounce can, it looks more intimidating. It looks stronger. It looks bulkier. So I didn't want to do the 12-ounce Alani Nu type Celsius type product. So we went with the classic Bang 16-ounce energy can.
I mean, it's bigger. It's got to be Brute. So you got to root everybody out. Yeah.
It would be too. It would cause too much friction in the product image, I think, if it was a 12-ounce can. And I also thought 12-ounce cans were just kind of. I knew everybody was doing that because along the process of making this, like the food chemist that helped me build this product kept asking me, she's like, "You sure you don't want to do 12-ounce can? Everyone's doing that," and that made me want to do it less. And then the co-packers also asked, like, everybody's doing 12 ounces. I'm like, oh, so I really should do 16 ounces. So I want to create this disruptive product, and I'll take everything that I can to make it a little bit disruptive. And 16 ounces is great. That made it more perfect, I think.
Yeah, that does kind of speak to what you're trying to do when everybody around you saying, well, everyone's doing this. And I'm like, well, good. I definitely want to not do that and do the other thing.
Yeah. I don't know how it works mentally, but it just makes you want to not. I guess if you're investing everything you have into something, it's been your design the whole way. Like, anytime someone hops in and tries to suggest a way to be, I think naturally you have resistance to it, and maybe that guided the decision a little bit. But that kind of bridges into psychology a little bit. I'm not sure how that all works, but yeah, 16 ounces is what I wanted to do, like from the get-go.
That makes sense. I like that too. It does fit in a cup holder better as well. I've noticed that the 12 ounces, if you're turning or stopping a little, it can slide around. So it's not always the best. Some people do obviously prefer the smaller ones, but for us guys with big hands, I think that 15 ones are going to be perfect.
That's funny that you said that. That happens to me every day when I'm driving. I lose like an ounce of the drink before I even sip it, just because it's open in the cup holder, and it's a 12-ounce can.
Yeah, and then some dummy is, probably not paying attention, and they slam their brakes on in front of you, and then you got to slam yours on, and all of a sudden it's on your stick shift. Yeah.
Yeah, my dashboard smells like Celsius. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they age.
Yeah. There you go. So, being the world's first anything, now that you are definitely the world's first on two things, has its challenges. What have been some of the challenges that you have faced being the world's first fitness seltzer? And then now, well, I mean, we can go into the protein one afterwards because you kind of touched on that as well.
I think there's always going to be resistance because when you do something for the first time, people haven't seen it before, and that's the price that you have to pay. So there's customer resistance, but there's market resistance because it's never been done before, right? So people automatically don't trust it. They have a hard time understanding what it is. because the barrier hasn't been broken yet. But again, that's just the price you have to pay for being the first. So it's harder to explain the product to people because they they've never heard it before, so they're like, oh, it's seltzer, but does it have alcohol? Like, no, it has protein. They're like, how? What? They're like, yeah, that's gross. It's isn't it going to be taste like chocolate? Because they think chocolate protein powder. So you get,
because that's the only protein powder that's out there is chocolate. There's no other protein
chocolate.
powder.
It's going to be milky. I'm like, no. So the price of being the first and the obstacles that come with it are you kind of have to. There's more resistance to everybody, everybody that knows it exists. But that's a small price to pay, and I'm happy to do it. You just kind of have to. You might have to hold people's hands while you walk them through, understanding it. But that's again a tiny price to pay for, having your own CPG category or creating your CPG category for the first time.
Right. Now, what have been some of the highlights for you when it does come to being the first in something?
Gratification is great. Knowing that you can pull something off that you weren't quite sure you'd be able to accomplish 3 years ago has been awesome, empowering, and motivating. There's also we've received a lot of support from professional athletes that I used to look up to 7 years ago when I was fresh out of college, which has been crazy. That's cool. And having people support something that, again, you didn't think was possible is probably the best feeling. For example, Mickey Gall has been a huge supporter of the brand so far.
Oh, awesome.
And it's happened organically, and he's a UFC fighter that I've always looked up to a little bit. And I like his fighting style and what he's accomplished in the UFC, and he's a great entertainer as well. And just overall a great athlete. Seeing him enjoying Brute is awesome, and him saying that he supports the brand wholeheartedly is great. There's also other fighters that have sort of done that same thing, and having support from somebody you look up to is just awesome. It just reaffirms you that you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Right.
You can create something, but if nobody likes it, you're not satisfied. You're going to keep re-strategizing until people tell you that it's good. But for this being our first run and people like Mickey Gall support it, it's a huge reward, morally and mentally. It's been great. Another thing that's been really rewarding is I've realized I don't need investors to pull this project off. And again, if I went back 3 years ago, I never would have thought that was possible. And that's a reward of just following through and not giving up, making this happen. So that's something I've learned just with the experience of making this, spending the time on it and making it actually produced.
Right. Now, I know a lot of people that do start their own, product or business, and they do rely pretty heavily on other investors. How did you kind of make it without having any investors?
I think there's two things that happened that made it possible. One is I work 7 days a week, 2 different day jobs. I barback and I bartend full time. So I always have money coming in. I know how much I have coming in, so I can calculate what I have every month. So from there, you have a financial compass. So you can plan for, if I'm going to create a small batch of the protein version, and I know it's going to cost $20,000. I know how much I make a month. I know how many months I have to save money to have the money. So now it's just a matter of waiting 6 months of saving the money and then being able to produce it. The second thing that happened, the second part of it, where was I going with this? The second part. So the first part is I work a lot, so I have the fun. I don't need to rely on anyone else's money. But the second part is in the beginning, I didn't know it would take 3 years. I thought I would have it. It would take a year to create the whole thing. I said, I'll take a loan out from the bank and I'll mix some BCA powder with, or some protein powder with some seltzer and I'll can it and I'll sell this product. And a year later, I still didn't have the thing, and there was 10 other steps I realized I had to do first. And then that happened again. Another year went by, and I was getting further down the process, and then, now we have the product. But like in the beginning, I didn't know how extensive the process was going to be. So the first part of being able to pull it off without investors is working a lot to make the money, and 2, just taking it month by month, and a little bit of ignorance because I had not done this before. But in the beginning, if I knew it was going to take 3.5 years and $40,000 or $50,000 or whatever I spent to produce it, I might have given up. But I didn't know, and I just kept going month by month, and I saw the progress, and it was worth that reward to keep going. So a little bit of ignorance and a lot of hard work. That's how I got to do it without investors. And I'm still using that formula right now. I'm working 7 days a week. I have the money, and I'm taking it month by month. And I just realized recently that we can make the protein version, and I don't need investors for it. So it's happening all over again, and it's incredible because I still own 100% of the brand. So hard work and taking the project piece by piece.
That's incredible. That's very inspirational for a lot of people out there that think that, well, I can't do this because I don't have the money or I don't have the time. Well, if you really want something, you genuinely do have to work even harder to make that thing happen. It's not just going to come here and happen for you. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I imagine there was some luck that happened along the way, but it wasn't luck out of nowhere. It was you putting yourself in the right places or with the right people, and those things just happened, as opposed to some people who just, kind of sit around and be like, oh, well, maybe one day it'll happen.
Yeah. You can't wait for that day to happen because, the day is today.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you can control is what you can do today. The day where you have $40,000 sitting in your bank to devote to a project isn't going to happen. But you might have 500 this week that you can devote to it, and then 500 next week, or 500 next month. And over time, in my case, it's 3 years, will add up to what you need it to be. But yeah, you can't wait for that day to come where everything happens for you, because that will never happen.
Yeah. Now,
yeah,
you said
that's how I do it.
I mean, also tomorrow's not promised either, so all the ideas are hard.
An hour from now is promised.
Exactly. Yeah, like you could have a Donnie Darko moment. You're just hanging out in your bed, all of a sudden some part of a plane crashes through your roof and you're dead. Or you could be driving to work and some idiot not paying attention smashes into you. Not only does your protein drink or your energy drink go flying everywhere, but you're gone too. So yeah. So, or you could choke on a ham sandwich or something. Anything. But yeah, tomorrow and the next hour, hell, even the next minute is not promised for everybody.
Right. And if you're aware of that, I think you'll be more aggressive about pursuing what you're passionate about and what you care about in life. But it's an uncomfortable thought to have. So a lot of us don't like thinking about it. It's scary. It's a scary reality, but if you avoid that thought, then you're avoiding reality, and then really nothing will ever happen that you want to happen, because you're not even starting from foundation of reality, because you're avoiding reality. So if you realize you don't have tomorrow, you can then start from a place of reality and start building what you want to have in 3 years or 4 years. But if you never look at reality, you can never start, because then you're building something for a reality that doesn't exist, right?
True. And as much as people love spending time in the virtual reality that is, the internet or games or whatever they want to do.
Or their imagination.
We can all live in the clouds as much as we want and be like, oh, what would I do if I won the lottery? Well, first off, you don't play the lottery, so that's already out. So it's not going to happen. But you have to also have that base of keeping your feet on the ground. And yeah, you can have your head in the clouds sometimes, but you also have to realize that there is a reality out there to make those things and those dreams come true.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can have your head in the clouds if you're